if the leadership team and if those that from which they like the operational team are working together to make something happen, and you know that you can trust that person, and when you call they'll pick up your phone, that that is worth its weight in gold, especially when the world is going around so quickly with technology and AI and this other stuff. I mean, it comes down to the basics.
Welcome to Unexpected Journey, the show where each week top professionals share work wisdom and life lessons about their careers and what they have learned about human experience in the workplace. I'm your host, Ann Bibb. Shelli Ryan is founder and chief executive of Ad Hoc Communication Resources, an international on-demand marketing services firm serving the technology sector. Shelli has managed hundreds of complex B2B go-to-market product and service launches in 69 countries. She has received a hefty number of awards, including Progressio's International Business Tiger Best of Show, Pinnacle Award, and Gold Excellence from the American Marketing Association, as well as Bronze and Honors Awards from Vision Awards. A frequent author and business speaker on business-to-business marketing, Shelli earned her master's degree from the University of Oklahoma, is a graduate of the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth WBENC Executive Program, and is a fellow of the Public Relations Society of America. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and leave your comments below. Now let's get started. Welcome, Shelli. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me today.
You know what? We have kind of run in the same circles for a long time. We really just connected directly recently, and I invited you to be on the show. I'm thrilled that you're here.
Thank you.
This is one of those situations where we just kind of kept missing each other for years, and we never really got connected until last year. And I find that very interesting, especially considering what you do.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, that circle you mentioned is kind of a small circle. You go to LinkedIn and someone has an invitation for you and you go, "Oh my gosh, we've got 200 mutual connections. Why are we now connecting?" Just how?
Exactly. So it was great to actually connect you. I think we actually met in person at a CX Outsourcers event that Peter Ryan does, and he's
Mhm.
phenomenal. He's our mutual, like, really close connection. And so it was really great to meet you in person. And now here we are.
No, it's exciting. I can't wait for the conversation.
Well, who knows where it'll go? We never know where these go.
Oh, I
So
know.
but I am curious. So, as we said in our intro, you are the CEO and founder of Ad Hoc Communications Resources. What, why don't you tell everybody, what is that? What do you do? How did you come up with it?
Yeah, all of that and more. So I'm sitting in my little cubicle at an online banking software company, which was my last corporate job back in, I suppose, in 95. And I thought, this internet thing is going to take off. And I was launching products and services around the world for that software company, but I wanted to do something for myself, right? Be the person where the money was coming to me and not shareholders of a big, large company. So I launched Ad Hoc in 96 for agencies, for tech companies, for BPOs to utilize a communication company that can be on demand, just in time, provide you with specialists around the world when you needed it, and then you wouldn't have to pay for it when you didn't. And so that's Ad Hoc, and that's been, gosh, a good 28 years ago. So I thought there was a need, and I guess I was right because, as you know, fractional is very important nowadays. And as we move into this crazy economy that we're in now, a lot of technology companies and BPOs are going, man, I just need to have marketers who can get the job done, not just someone who's sitting in a seat. So that's really where we came about with that idea. And it's a woman-owned business, by the way.
You really saw the future. Fractional is I'm a partner in another fractional organization. We don't do fractional in the same area that you do, but there are a lot of fractional organizations. You were You were cool before you were cool.
Well, I know, right? Well, we did work from home when it wasn't cool either. I'd have my
I know. You and I both, we're some of the pioneers, right? We were working from home 25 years ago, and people didn't understand that concept
They didn't. No,
back then.
no. Well, and I think it was Forrester back in the day said the marketing organization of the future will have hybrid teams where you might have a contractor here, an agency there, FTEs, and they all come together. And while that's logistically, it makes sense, sometimes culturally, the internal team just can't get their head wrapped around that a contractor could be a part of that team. And I think that's probably the number one challenge, maybe obstacle of fractional is to be, welcomed in the team to say, you're just like us, you quack like us, and that sort of thing. I don't know if that's what you've seen as you deploy.
Oh my goodness. Yes, not just fractional, but if you're a fractional and a consultant, they're different but the same. And I look at, and tell me if you think this is different. A fractional is almost a consultant that comes in for a longer period of time, but a shorter number of hours. They know they're going to be there maybe for a year, 18 months, 2 years. A consultant is somebody that may be working almost full time or for a specific project.
Yeah,
They may only be there for a month or 2 months, maybe three. They come in to work and accomplish a goal, and that goal needs to be completed. And when that goal is completed, they may be assigned to a different goal. Fractionals are omni-channel. They're omni. They're there to help the entire business and look at the holistic view of what needs to be accomplished. That from a marketing standpoint, they're looking at the whole company. They may be looking at employee marketing. They may be looking at client marketing, company marketing. There's just a whole lot of stuff. But if it's a consultant coming in, they're assigned a project from a marketing standpoint. So there's two different viewpoints here. Curious if you kind of look at it the same way.
we see that very similarly, yes. And when I was deploying this type of business model, what I found was that, and this is important, 95% of our clients need some sort of project manager to be the hub so that the spokes can make the wheel go around. And so not only are we deploying these fractional or hybrid specialists, there's a very big need for someone to say, right, y'all are developing social demand gen brand, all this, but there's no plan, there's no governance, there's no structure, there's not a process, you don't have technology tools. And so what we find is that not only are we delivering services, we're also building the department. And so from time to time, BPOs in particular, and a lot of technology companies say, we need to come in and have you build our department from the ground up, or maybe refresh, just to make sure that we have that structure to be successful. Not only are we delivering services, we're also building the department in which we serve. So 95%, that's huge. You would think that they've got that all figured out, but as we pull back the covers and kind of look, it's like, I don't know how you guys are being successful because there's really no structure there. So I think that's just a best practice that we see that, going into 2024, if your pipe isn't filled and it's kind of bumpy and there's friction within the various entities of brands arguing with demand gen's not sharing their plan with content, take a look at the structure. Is there good governance in play for the entire team to have an integrated marketing plan? And look, we're right now in the midst of putting together a structure, a governance, a policy and procedure plan, and implementing that plan for a fairly large organization that has a department, but it's just not working. And so we're putting that together, not only for marketing, but for corporate communications.
And that ties back into what our original conversation, what a perfect loop that does. And that is, as a fractional or consultant, I have found that if I'm introduced as a fractional member of the team versus a consultant, it is easier to become integrated and get the team to trust me
Mhm.
because I am a member of the team, albeit a fractional member. I'm a member of the team, and they allow me access to items. They allow me into the inner circle. I can then see and then provide advice and recommendations as to what is needed to change. To your point just now, those individuals have probably been there for a while. They may have built all of these things, and then business changes.
Yeah.
Business is a living, breathing thing.
Hmm.
And as time goes on, as the world changes, so does business. And sometimes you need to bring in somebody from the outside
Yeah.
to look and see the trees for the forest because they've been living in this forest and didn't realize all of the sudden some new species have now come in and
Hmm.
they need to adjust how they are now making sure that their forest is healthy and fruitful. And that's what you are there to do.
Open-mindedness seems like it's uncommon at this moment within teams. I think probably because I see a little bit of um, apprehension, maybe concern for their safety, concern for their job. So at all costs, they don't want to share information. And I'm not being negative. I'm just saying this is what we've seen in the last 28 years, where they hold information that is useful for consultants, fractionals, whoever, to get the job done. So I think that's best practice number two. If we're talking about how do you build teams that are
But that's
resilient.
normal too. I mean, think about last year when literally hundreds of 300,000 people
Yeah.
were laid off in the matter of a few months. It
Yeah.
is absolutely normal for people to have fear for their jobs.
Exactly, exactly. Well, I'll give you a good point. There was a BPO, I won't name it, but I get a call early in the evening of one night and says, "Hey, we're going to do a downsizing tomorrow. How quickly can you get to this state?" It was cross country, and I said, "Well, there's a red eye, so I'm on the first plane to the state to help them figure out what the next is." And I'm sitting in the conference room and hadn't slept yet, and it's 7:30 Eastern time, and I'm seeing the people walk out with their boxes. And we actually bridged that BPO, which was a worldwide BPO for 3 years, bringing in a fractional, but also supported by services, demand gen, and all the rest through the delivery mechanism of ad hoc, meaning that we have website masters and UX UI and content writers. But you're spot on to say that I think that we all have to be open minded about what the next is, to say maybe it's not we're putting out job requisitions for FTEs, but rather let's think about maybe I just need a little bit of hump to get over the hump. And maybe it is a fractional, maybe it is a specialist, and we want to open up an office in Australia. Can they support us in Australia, even though they're in, for example, Las Vegas? And the answer is yes. So we might want to just as people and as leaders be open minded. And look, I know that you're probably not the first to say sometimes these technology companies think you have to be on premise in their environment to get the whole gist of what's going on and know the locale. But I have to say that both you and I are global executives. We have the pulse on a lot of different things and a lot of different geos, and so we have to think outside the box. This world is becoming more global than ever, and to have a business here in the States or have a business in Romania and serve other geos is not a far-fetched idea.
And I think the biggest thing, well, it's not, I wouldn't say the biggest thing. I need to be careful of my wording. I think one of the larger items that I open people's minds to when they are when I come in is, have you considered your team's thoughts and feelings? Have you talked to your team?
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, they're so focused on the numbers and what's happening and what they're seeing on the P&L and the bottom line or top line,
Yeah.
right? Whatever is their important number, EBITDA, what they're focused on that and opening their thoughts up to there are people behind the numbers
Mm-hmm.
and thinking about what to do at that point
Yeah.
and realizing when they start thinking about this
Yep.
and some of the things impacting the individuals and the human beings
Yep.
are driving those numbers.
Yes.
Let's really dig into the processes, the procedures, the policies.
Mm-hmm.
What is impacting emotions and therefore the activity and the performance and on your employee side, then flowing through to your customers, your clients, that is directly impacting your P&L.
You know, you make a really good point because part of the process that we go through to onboard some of our clients is to do some interviews. And I was sitting in Boston interviewing some of the frontline employees saying, you know, what do you do all day? Or what, if you were a CEO, what would you do? And I have to tell you that there's this very meek and mild frontline agent. And she said, you know what? I would do X. And I heard that idea. I thought,
So impressive.
fantastic. You know what I did is I walked right in the CEO's office and I said, hey, what would you think about this? And he goes, I never thought about that. And that saved that company literally $8 million year over year because of that one idea of that frontline employee. It's like, that's
And you're like, you don't need to hire me. You need to listen to your team.
exactly, exactly.
You
Yeah,
already have great people. You just need to listen.
that's right. Or walk around. I mean, get out of
Right.
the
Just
office and walk.
talk to them. You hired the right people
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
and they know. You just need to talk to them.
yeah,
It's eye-opening.
yeah,
And it's just amazing. Sometimes, not all companies, but sometimes, again, caught in the forest, not seeing the trees, built these amazing organizations, but pigeonhole people
yes,
into roles and forget
yeah.
they want to move up. They have amazing ideas and
Hmm.
they want to contribute to the success of the organization because they believe in it and they want it to get better. Talk to them, walk around, see what ideas they have, ask questions. Don't just talk to them in all hands, listen to them in all hands.
That's right. That's right. Shut the mouth and open the ears, right?
It's hard,
Concept.
especially as you grow. And that's the important thing. As you grow, it is hard to keep those doors open. It is a talent and it's a difficult skill, but
Yeah,
it's an important one.
but you raised a good point about talking, you know, having a conversation. And as we build sales pipeline for a number of different organizations around the world, what we find is a lot of these business development folks are hiding behind digital marketing and social and LinkedIn to try to get their connections. And it's just not working. And I keep saying to them, you've got to make that personal connection one on one because people buy from people. They don't necessarily like, oh, that's a fantastic campaign. I think I'll buy from you. It's like, you know, or hey, you've got the best chat bot in the world. I think I'll buy from you. Maybe, but it's oftentimes about if the leadership team and if those that from which they like the operational team are working together to make something happen. And you know that you can trust that person. And when you call, they'll pick up your phone. That that is worth its weight in gold, especially when the world is going around so quickly with technology and AI and this other stuff. I mean, it comes down to the basics, in my opinion. I might be showing my age a bit. I have to
You
acknowledge
can do it with me. We're the same age. Go ahead. I'm right there with you.
it truly comes down to, and this is why trade shows and conferences and summits are back in vogue now because people want to talk to people. The
So
concept.
along those lines, you now you bring up a really good point. Um, can you share some insights? If you have a specific one, great. If they're generic, that's great too. But your approach to building those trusted relationships. You've talked a few times about how somebody has just called you up and said, "Can you be here tomorrow?"
Yes.
That is something that is necessary in today's world. People buy from people, not companies. Clients want to work with individuals. People want to work for people. How did you build those relationships with clients and lead a team of senior consultants that want to work for you?
Yeah, I probably don't have a really good answer, but I'll just explain the story a bit. 80% of our business comes through referrals of, clients that have worked with us in the past, have moved on to another company and want to bring us with them. And I think it comes down to, and this isn't rocket science, and I'm a blonde, so it can't be that complex. But the point is that you have to treat each other civilly, as well as have a win-win with that relationship. What is it that you can bring to the business that would be of value? And I often find that it's more like, hey, I know that they need this service, and that here we are helping them, supplying it, but there's just something else that they need, and you go above and beyond. And that above and beyond certainly is not forgotten as they think through all the various vendors that they have, who went above and beyond. And so that's point number one. Point number two is that you can charge an exorbitant amount if you want to, but you're probably not going to get hired again. So our philosophy is be a good value from a price point perspective. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at other.
You're singing my song right there. Go, Shelly, go.
Well, and oftentimes we get asked, "Who's your competitor?" And I'm saying everybody. From a freelancer to a small team to a very large agency in Manhattan, everyone is our competitor. But the point is that you have to develop those relationships. I guess point number three would be that sometimes people just want to have one throat to choke, and I know that's from a contact center perspective, but a lot of these various vendors and agencies in my world will have layer upon layer upon layer of people, and they're all doing something. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but honestly, clients just want to have one person that they know that they can pick up their phone, and that person will answer, and they get an answer immediately. You don't have to go through a project manager, an account manager, a traffic controller, all of that. It's important to have just one person that you can rely on. Now, is that scalable? Yeah, because I've done it. I've got 200 senior consultants around the world that are plugging and playing. But back to what I talked to you about moments ago, the project management perspective of leading business campaigns is so important, that there's one person that you can go to. And at a moment's notice, that person can be the air traffic controller, seeing the planes land and planes taking off. That's key, because you
It's like
can't
a
have
conductor in a beautiful orchestra.
exactly. So
Yeah.
those are some of the points. I mean, that's kind of how I've built it. And to the extent that I can build it a little further, all good. I would also say that I'm kind of in the business just to not make a ton of money, but just to be a resource that people can go to, and it's a value. It isn't pretentious, but it's a company that can integrate, that can relate to what's going on within the business, and not be it's our way or it's no way, but rather how do we integrate as a hybrid team, as one.
That is a really great segue to something that I wanted to ask you.
Mhm.
Can you provide a specific campaign or project where your team was embedded or integrated, is a great word, within that client's organization and helped them win business and stand out? What strategies did you employ? What results were you able to directly tie to your organization and tell and show the client? you were able to help them?
Yeah, there's just so many fun stories. One that
I
comes
love fun stories, Shelly. We got time.
exactly right. One that comes to mind is that one of my colleagues from the Midwest had just joined an organization that was a $22 billion ITO BPO organization, and the BPO side of it was kind of struggling because they didn't quite have their services branded, vetted out, messaged, which is important to me. It always starts with messaging, and so he asked me to meet with the new executive that had taken on this line of business. At the time, it was 250 million in revenue, and they were trying to get it to a certain threshold. So we came in and we actually, within 6 to 8 months, repositioned 12 of their services from social analytics to speech analytics to the call center component, and had them all messaged, and then put together a plan to get that done in a variety of different geos, from America to the Caribbean to LATAM. And then we helped them with a few acquisitions in Europe. All said and done, there are about four to six acquisitions that we help them with around the world to help build and scale. But as far as some of the KPIs from that specific strategy, and by the way, we were embedded into their organization. They had 3 or 4 marketers, but they were tactical. They were tactical in that this lady does the bumpy mailer campaign, and that guy does content, and this person does playbooks. And so it wasn't a team per se. They had their own silo, if you will, and they wouldn't go out of their silo. And so back to the analogy of the uh, air traffic controller, we literally were the air traffic controller that helped to put the planes together so that we were all going out of the various runways and not hitting each other. But as far as KPIs are concerned, I remember one campaign in particular where we had launched a social CRM service that was a white label of another organization, but of course BPOs bring it into their own. In the first year, it was $25 million in revenue, and then times three for the second year. So it's there has to be some goodness there, where you say, just because of marketing there was some good ROI there. The other BPO I might mention is one in Colorado, where they were having a little bit of time trying to figure out how do they build their pipe. And it wasn't just dialing for dollars. They actually physically needed an integrated marketing plan. And because of what we did, they were able to capture into their pipeline about 32 million in potential prospects, and a contract with one of the largest cable providers at the time. And just as to throw good measure, some of the frosting on the top, I was able to coordinate with their corp com and their legal department, asking them to issue a press release about this deal, and they never did that, ever. But by the grace of God, and maybe some of my negotiating skills, they said yes. And so we were able to physically name that very large cable company that begins with a C. So we were able to have that opportunity to have that on the wire, and for this BPO, that was a huge feather in their cap to say that we represent this company.
I love that. That's great. So, this is actually a great point for us to kind of give everybody an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is the time for us to play this or that and
Okay.
give everybody an opportunity to get to know Shelli. I know you've seen the show before, so we play this or that. I give you a couple of phrases or words. I play two, and then we figure out, you know, which one we'd go with, and we talk about it. So, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So the first one, and these are random, and the rules of the game, you have to pick one. You can't say
Okay.
none, and you can't go another way. Those are the rules. I didn't
Oh,
make them. That's just how it is.
okay.
Actually, maybe I made them. I don't remember. We've been doing this a long time. All right. First one, sushi or Thai food?
Sushi.
Really? Do you not like
Yeah.
Thai food?
It's a little bit spicy for my taste. And sushi's kind of cool, where I can pick well, this is the personality of Shelli Ryan. It's like, I actually like that, but then I want half a roll here, a third of a roll there, and I want the other roll. So I smush them all together. And of course, the sushi chef is about ready to kill me. It's like, oh, really? You want two of this and one of that and three of that? It's like, yeah, actually, I do.
This one was actually hard for me because so as our viewers know, I'm a celiac, so I can't have gluten. What I don't know if everybody knows is that when you have sushi, there are some, if they have to use the right type of vinegar in order for sushi to be gluten free.
I didn't know
If
that.
it's a malt vinegar, it is no longer gluten free. It
Huh.
has to be the right vinegar. Also, Thai food, a lot of Thai food uses rice noodles or glass noodles. And so those are gluten free. So, and they can make it mild.
Huh.
That said, there's some Thai food I like, but I love sushi.
Yes,
I
yes.
love sushi. So I had to go with sushi. Like, this was actually a debate in my head as I'm sitting here looking at these going,
Which one, right?
like, it's easier to go with Thai food because I know glass noodles, rice noodles, all of these things I'm pretty safe with. But sushi, I always have to ask, what kind of vinegar did you use? Do you have gluten-free soy sauce? Did you put soy sauce? Some places just automatically put soy sauce on
Yep.
their sushi. Like, I
Yep.
have to ask a lot of questions when I go to a sushi place,
Absolutely
but
have to.
I love sushi and it's sushi all day long, every day. Sounds like we could go out for sushi sometime.
We absolutely. I'm there. Pick a
There
date.
we go. Okay, so I think I know where you're going to go with this one. I don't like that this one came up, but it's what popped up.
Okay.
Tattoos or piercings?
Wow, piercings, but I have to tell you, and maybe this is a true confession. For my pierced ears, I was 35 when I got my ears pierced. I know, late bloomer. No tattoos. I can't get into it. Sorry.
So, no, no, no.
A
My
little bit too much
daughter,
for me.
my daughter has like 12 or 13 tattoos.
Oh wow.
More power to her. She
Yeah.
loves them. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody has and they're all in places that are covered when she goes to work.
Yeah.
And some of them are incredibly beautiful. It is a skill and a
It
talent and
is.
art.
It is.
Um, I actually went to go get a tattoo one time.
No way.
One time.
Yeah.
I was 17.
Oh boy.
I looked like I was 23. So I walked right into that tattoo shop.
Yep.
And they were like, okay, pick out what you want. And I did, and I was ready to go. And they're like, okay, we just, it's the law. We have to ask for your ID. And I'm like, here you go. I did not know you had to be 18 to get a tattoo.
Oh, okay.
So I did not get my tattoo because
Well,
I wasn't 18.
speaking of tattoos, I am really surprised at how business has evolved. I'm a child of the 80s, and if you had a tattoo and they could see it, whether it's this or whether it's this, sleeve, forget it, you're not getting the
You're not
job.
hired. Now it's
Now,
commonplace.
exactly. I mean, some servers have tattoos on which is fine, on their face.
Yeah.
Thinking, when I was your age, I would not have gotten a job.
No.
So back to your point about being open-minded, businesses are making changes as they see fit in the society, and like you say, some of it can be super beautiful,
Yeah.
and some of it tells a story, and some of them are milestones of your
Yeah.
life. To get a tattoo at this certain point in your life, I mean, it's all good.
Exactly. So
But for
needless to say, I never ended up getting a tattoo ever. Still don't have any. I would probably go with piercings, although I did get ear piercings when I was little. They have since closed, but
yeah,
I would have to go with piercings now just because at this point I've never had a tattoo. I have an old lady body, it is what it is. I probably stick with the piercings. But like you said, I actually love looking at people's tattoos because the artwork, the stories behind them,
right.
almost everybody that I've seen. And there is just something about a smart dressed businessman who has his sleeves rolled up, and you can see there's just a very nice tattoo right here.
Yep.
but he's a business. I mean, you can tell. And
Yes.
there's just something like, like after work, he's going to go ride his motorcycle or he's going to go do something else. But
Right.
he is all business during the day. So I don't know. I like the tattoos,
Yeah.
but not for me.
Yeah. Yep.
So I love this game. You learn so much about people.
I think it's great. It's kind of interesting that we've got a lot in common. Who knew?
So, all right. Last question. What's coming up? We've got, oh, swimming in a lake or swimming in a river?
Yeah, that's a really good one. I'm going to go with lake, just because I know that there's an end to it. uh, Truth be told, I
I
am
would say nothing. If I had the choice, I would say neither here, just so you know. Like,
right. Well, okay. So growing up, we would be swimming in lakes. In fact, that was summertime. We would be swimming in lakes, and no big deal. Now that I'm older, I go back to those lakes, and I'm like, man, they're fish. They're biting on my ankles, and who knows what.
I'm like, it's dirty.
It's dirty. Yeah, it's dirty. I know. But back to the rivers analogy, you could be swept down river. And I'm not the strongest swimmer in the world. So, at least a lake, I can see that there's a perimeter and there's an end to it. The river, who knows? I could be in Tijuana at the moment, come from Las Vegas and go down to Mexico because the river
Ooh, you have to
goes
pay
that
for a
way.
flight then. Free travel.
True. Right? There's always a silver lining.
Glass half full, Shelli.
Right,
Uh,
right. Exactly. Exactly.
I, like you, we used to go to Lake Texoma
Oh,
when I was little, and I remember we used to rent a cabin,
yep.
and we have pictures of all of the cousins and everything playing on the shore in the lake in that muddy red water.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ew. But you know, I c- and I'm okay. It's odd. I'm okay in the ocean.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
okay in the ocean, but not in the lake. It's brown and icky. So
Yeah.
I would, if I could, I would pick neither. But I agree with you. If I have to choose, I would go with lake for
I
the
like,
same reason. For
yeah,
the same reason.
I like the ocean. Just sometimes, and maybe it's just the time of year where it flips and the seaweed goes on top. That then is a no bueno.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for playing our game and letting us get to know you a little bit more. So, all right. So, back to our questions. We're going to flip the script a little bit because what our viewers don't know is that aside from being the founder and CEO of Ad Hoc Communications, you are also the founder of the CX Blockchain Institute.
Yep.
And this is just a new thing for me. I will tell everybody here, I just don't know a lot about it. So I may ask some questions that are fairly kindergarten. So could you explain the concept of blockchain transformation
Yep.
in the context of the customer experience industry?
Yeah, and it might be worth just a couple of sentences just why in the world I would ever do such a thing.
Yes.
Getting
Why in the world? You had a successful business. Why? Why,
right.
Shelli?
Exactly. Yeah. So wind back to I think it's 2018. I'm in London at a Peter Ryan event. I'm sitting in the back of the
There's
room.
Peter again.
I know. He's everywhere. Where's Waldo? So we're in this meeting. It's a CXO London. Actually, it was in Windsor. I'm in the back of the room with Steve Weston, and the speakers are trying to figure out why omnichannel doesn't work particularly well. Us as marketers, we say, "Oh, it works fantastically. It just change." But things get dropped, and people get frustrated in the channel. All of that. And so on the flight home, I'm thinking, what would fix omnichannel? And I come to the realization that it would be blockchain. Blockchain can help to put transactions on the private registry where it's all safe as far as data security. It helps agents get things right at the ready. You don't have 15 screen pops, you have one or two. So average handle time goes down. And then, of course, because we're able to get it on the blockchain, which is unchangeable and it is private to the organization, it's an easier, faster transaction and helps to increase CSAT. So when I come back home, I think this is a business. And I'd call Steve Weston. It's a Saturday. I say, what do you think? He goes, I think it's a fantastic idea. So we spin this up. It's a sister company of Ad Hoc, where only call centers is where we implement the blockchain. I'll just say that's why it's called the CX Blockchain Institute, because as I did my research, really the contact center is the ugly red-headed stepchild of blockchain and, quite frankly, any technology projects where they don't get the funding to fix things by and large. So call center needs blockchain to, one, help with digital identities that are coming down the pike, and a lot of them are already here. Digital passports, digital healthcare records, all of this will be digitally encrypted. And I mean, look, 80% of fraud is identity fraud, and a lot of times it happens in a call center. So we need to figure out how we harden and fortify a call center, and blockchain, I think, in my personal opinion, is it.
Wow. So, what, trying to think of how I want to say this. What potential benefits does blockchain, and tell me if I'm wording this incorrectly, what potential benefits does blockchain bring to customer experience, and how does your institute contribute to its fulfillment?
Yeah, I can think of three benefits right off the bat. One is faster transactions. So that's number one. Number two is a safer environment where data security is pretty key. We've got a lot of hacking going on. We've got a lot of spoofing. We've got a lot of fraud. And blockchain, because as I say, it's on a registry, it's unchangeable, and it's encrypted. And as we bring in AI and some others as a layer in the call center, blockchain can be on top of it just to fortify it. And then number three is a lot of millennials just don't want to talk to people. And so blockchain helps to facilitate that with having another channel that they can go through to get their answers in an environment where they know it's safe to comment. And so just a lot of different areas where blockchain can be deployed. Call centers one where we thrive, but there's also art, smart contracts, supply chain, just a number of different areas. But what our institute does is we go into an organization, and largely it's a captive call center right now who wants to implement blockchain. BPOs haven't fully got onto the bandwagon. That's why we need more education. But we go into the environment and we do the CX transformation audits, and then we figure out where blockchain can be implemented, here, and here. And then we bring in our software providers, and they make it so. But while they do that, the two businesses, the CX Blockchain Institute and Ad Hoc, work together on the training and the curriculum and the marketing of blockchain so that the brand will be blockchain ready with how do you sell it? How do you train folks to not get freaked out that their jobs will be eliminated? And then we work with HR. How do you level up maybe some call center agents to be blockchain agents, for example? And then we launch. And then this is really where the value prop comes into play, or the differentiator. And this is kind of important. The last part of our journey is that we certify the call center to be blockchain ready. It is a certification very similar to PCI compliance, ISO, all of those certifications. And I've been lobbying a lot of the procurement managers, and you'll probably see in 2024 where another box in the RFP is are you blockchain ready? And if BPOs don't have that in their, quiver, if you will, they may get passed over, because the more certifications you have to keep a brand happy, and they feel trusted, and they feel secured, the more certifications you have, the more business that you will have, because you've just gone that extra step to make sure that it's fortified and protected, and all of these transactions are protected.
You've mentioned the BPO industry a few times,
Uh-huh.
specifically talking about blockchain.
Yep.
Let's focus on that for just a second. You said they're not really embracing blockchain yet.
Yep.
What if they were to start thinking about this? What are some of the things that they need to start thinking about in order to become, what was the term used, blockchain ready, so that when that starts becoming a question in the RFI or RFP, they can click yes? What are those? What's that checklist?
Yeah, and before I get to the checklist, I'll just say, look, I've been working with BPOs the majority of my career.
Life, all right? Like, it's
And
who
what,
we are.
yep, and what I found is that a lot of the technology projects aren't on the first of the list. If it's not broken, don't fix it, is kind of where I have seen them go. And look, that $22 billion BPO I mentioned a moment ago was at the forefront of implementing RPA, robotic process automation. And, a lot of BPOs could benefit from that. And a lot of them don't do it just because of maybe cost. They don't have a client who's actually calling for it. And why be proactive having this, and if the client won't pay for it? AI is another one where, they're looking at it, maybe not implement it. And I know years ago when we were implementing speech analytics and some predictive and prescriptive analytics, they're going, why would we need that? Well, you would need that because it helps to grow your business. So back to your question, which is, how do you have a checklist of being ready for when blockchain is a thing? In 2024, security is going to be an issue. We're already seeing that foreign actors are hacking. I mean, MGM just had a huge
Oh, that
hack.
was awful.
Well, the point was that, I mean, largely it was human engaged, right? Apparently, the hackers called into the
It
help
was a
desk and said, "Hey, man,
phishing attempt.
yeah, I can't find my password. Can you add me?" or something like that. It was human born, but blockchain could have been there to say, is this person truly an employee? And a millisecond would have figured out through the digital identity that yes, he or she is one, and grant her access. So the checklist list kind of goes like this. Security is going to be on the checklist. Digital transformation with digital identities, digital records, digital processes, all of that's going to be on the checklist. It's going to be about agent empowerment, because as we mentioned, you don't want 15 pops on your screen. You want one to get the client on their way, their customer on their way, consumer on their way. They don't want to spend a day with an agent trying to figure out what the heck's going on. They just want one answer and then they go. And then processes where maybe you can join a lot of the implementation, a lot of the workforce management, a lot of the CRM onto the blockchain to make it more seamless. And, since 2019, we have done a market intel report that gives BPOs and captive call centers the market intelligence to see where there are impacts within their call center for blockchain to make a difference, but also around the various verticals like healthcare and financial services and telecom, who is actually implementing it. So you could take it to the board, take it to your leadership team and say, look, in 2024, we have to implement blockchain. Here's the data. We had hired GBS Worldwide to help us with that research under Mark Angus's leadership. And so there's a lot of good data, a lot of good research that they could take to their leadership team to say, we actually need to implement this now. There are players in the business that can help us do that. They already know call center, they're in the know, and away they go for a pretty robust 2024.
So I view you as a leader in kind of the intersection between customer experience and technology. Um, what are some of the emerging trends or advances in the industry that really excite you most?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. I got into technology because every day's different.
Every day is different.
Every day is different, and there are so many different. I call them product launches, but launches of services, tweaks of something. I do think that AI is going to be an instigator of rapid change, and I know that the government is looking at it pretty seriously as the Biden administration gets ahead of this and tries to regulate it. I think that's probably going to be um, an enabler, if you will. But I also think along with that, the digital currencies are going to be something we'll all have to figure out. I mean, when's the last time you paid cash? Cash just isn't
Only for a lottery ticket.
exactly. It's just not in the flow anymore, and China and some other countries have mandated digital currencies, and people are kicking and screaming because it's not quite secure at the moment, because at any time the government can say, I'm going to tell you how much allowance you can have today to spend. So digital currencies are important, and digital currencies play in the CX world and in the technology world. CX needs to have digital currency as a form of payment when they're taking, airline ticket reservations or whatever. An agent has to be very versed in the different cryptocurrencies that are available and as a method of payment. So those two in particular, I think, are fairly important. But I do think that as we think about metaverse, some folks are saying, "Man, that's just a smoke screen. There's no there there. There might be even vaporware." I do think that it's coming around again, and back in, I think, in the '90s it was virtual reality, and now they've coined it, renamed it, whatever. I think there's some possibilities there in CX, and I think there are a lot of, might have been Aloric or some others that are using that for training purposes, to have the virtual reality, virtual scenarios for training agents. But also, I think they're also using that for, not Alorica specifically, but other BPOs and CX companies are using that for help desk. So a good example of that is I saw a demo where I think it was either Samsung or Philips brings you into the inside of the refrigerator. Like, hey, is it this part that you're trying to fix, or is it that part? And you're pointing and looking at it physically, because you're inside the refrigerator. If you're not physically inside the refrigerator, it's virtually inside the refrigerator. So I think it has a lot of good potential within CX and technology to be a technology of change. Those three in particular.
That's great. So, as you know, I always like to ask one question where you can speak directly to the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'd like to open it up to you, have you just speak directly to them. What advice would you give to startups, enterprises, VCs that are seeking to optimize their marketing and branding efforts?
Yeah, great question. So, my advice, number one, is don't wait until it's perfect. Number two is believe in yourself and have others in your circle, your inner circle, keep your circle small, that you can bounce ideas off of, have some sounding boards. Number three is, and this is a Shelli advice that might not be good for everybody, but don't think that you need to scale right away. And in my experience, I didn't take VC money. I didn't take any funding from other folks who wanted to give us money to scale. But with that comes consequences, right? In my opinion, you kind of sell your soul. Sorry, I said it, but I built it with my own money, and if you can, I think that's probably the better, because one, you keep control. I can't tell you how many times I've seen founders where they take money and then they get booted out. For whatever reason. Look, I've had people offer us money and we're saying, I want to build it myself. And then the fourth is, don't be afraid to ask for advice. And it's back to that sounding board where some folks just want to do it their own way. But as you and I both know, that there's so many other people that can give you just an itty bitty piece of advice, and that itty bitty piece of advice just kind of compounds as you think through it. So those are kind of the 4 best practices that, as a startup, that's how I would do it. And I don't know if you know, Anne, but I do help mentor and guide some of the startups within marketing and communications to help build them. We have templates that they can use, and mentoring and coaching and all of that. It's not just a hybrid or a fractional that they get use of, but it's rather, ask us anything. We've been around the block, we've been around the rodeo, so maybe we could help, or maybe we know someone who could be in touch with. And I think that last, in touch with, is pretty important to know, that you probably shouldn't burn bridges. And I try not to, because you never know when that person's going to come back into your life. Like, oh man, I remember saying,
never know when you're going to be walking over that bridge.
Exactly.
Shelli, why would somebody get in touch with you, and how would they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So usually the why is pretty simple. One is they don't have enough pipe. They're trying to expand their business and they don't have the folks in-house, or maybe they have people in-house, but they need some specialized help. Maybe they're a foreign company that needs some ground coverage in a different geo. Like I said, we've got 200 of us around the world. Typically in the Americas is where our majority is, but we're in Europe and in Australia, delivering services to APAC. So just the growth aspect, if you want to grow and not spend a lot of cycles and money doing it, that's when they call ad hoc. That's when the phone rings, the red phone. And how they get a hold of us is they can pop on out into our website, which is adhoccr.com, or on LinkedIn. They can find us just searching, or call the red phone. I'm always happy to have a conversation. Conversation's free.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a great conversation.
It's always good to have a conversation with you. Don't be a stranger.
Same. And for everybody else, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again next week. As we wrap up the episode, we would like to take this time to thank you for joining us this week on Unexpected Journey. Our guest information will be linked in the episode description, along with a link to our host website, Bibb.com, and our sponsors' websites, remoteevolution.com, ethossupport.com, and yourcohort.co. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on your favorite podcast app and on our YouTube channel, so that you never miss an episode and we can continue to bring them to you. Let us know your thoughts on what we discussed in the comment section. And once again, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again next time on Unexpected Journey.